So we are back here on the Art Fort Lauderdale podcast, episode 9, with local artist Jordan Guzman from her home loft studios here in Broward County. If you didn't know about Art Fort Lauderdale, we produce the first art fair on the water that takes place in luxury waterfront homes off the Los Olas intracoastal waterways, made only accessible via boat, creates a different way to view and interact with art, and has led the way to Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week, which takes place the same week as the fair, January 18th through the 26th, with the art fair taking place January 23rd through the 26th. The point of the podcast is to connect you with amazing artists like her that make the art fair great, and to hear their backstories so you can find out a little bit more about the artist's work, their process, and what led them to this point. So without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about Miss Jordan Guzman?
Right. Well, thank you, Evan. Thank you for having me. I'm so super excited about the fair in general. And what attracted me to Art Fort Lauderdale, let's start there and then we'll backtrack, was the fact that it was in homes. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted Evan to come to my house, because, you know, home has always been a sanctuary for me, and it's always been important, and my work has to do with it. And it was different than a gallery setting, which can feel kind of sterile sometimes. So I like the idea that you have the comfort of home and having people around, and that's where art gets talked about. That's where it's formed, in houses and just having coffee or having friends over. So I like that idea, and it fit very well with my line of work and why I make art.
In a setting where art ultimately lives.
Exactly. I think that's the best part, because I always knew that I was finished with an artwork when I hung it up. This is my wall back here behind Evan, where I put up my paintings after I feel that they're at a point where I just have to think about it for a while. And the way that I know it's finished is when it's hanging up on a wall in my house, and that I can live with it, so to speak, and where I can walk by it and do life with it, having it around, and being comfortable with the painting. And that's how I know it's done. So seeing it in another home kind of brings it full circle.
How about that?
Full circle for me, yeah.
And sure. You can't see, but there's tons of paintings all around. We'll talk about a few of those. But for those that aren't familiar with Jordan Guzman, why don't you tell us who you are a little bit at a high level?
So I have always called myself a writer before as a painter, and I've always liked speaking, and I've always had a lot of just insights and inquiries. And when I was little, I really felt like an old soul, and I felt like I was this little old lady inside, even 10-year-old body, that just had so much to say and to think about the world around me. And that means I didn't relate with a lot of my peers when I was little, although like I had good friends, but I always felt a little like different, but not really sure like why. And when I was 18, I decided that I wanted to be an artist, and I took my first art course aside from elementary school when I was a senior in high school, when I was 17, and I excelled in the class and I did really good. I got like, my art got into contests, you know, they showed it in the library, and the table was like this, so it was, you know, me and 4 other kids, and I just excelled. And then I decided that I was going to be an artist, and it wasn't a matter of if I was going to be an artist, but when. But then looking back, you know, being an artist is not something that you can turn on and off. It's always there. So I think I was, you know, just born with that inclination to create and to share ideas about the world around me. So yeah. And then I went to Valencia Community College. Nothing crazy. Went to UCF for art school, and the rest is history. I got a job in the arts, and I just have to be around creativity all the time for mental stimulation. Sure. I have to be around it, or else I, you know, I can go crazy.
And your artwork is definitely unique, and there's a lot of thought and a lot of different steps in the process. Can you tell us a little bit about your works, either this piece or some of the pieces behind you,
Sure.
and some of your creative process?
How it starts is I'm into mindfulness meditation. It wasn't always the case. I was not raised in a traditional religious home, but it was a little different. It was unique. But my father is kind of the spiritual guru in my life, and my mother as well. So I've always had that desire to explain things around me, to figure it out, and to just keep asking questions. And as I've been gaining my own on my own spiritual journey, I wanted to do that with painting and explain that in all my artwork. So in college, in undergrad, I focused more on still life and telling stories and narratives through the objects that I picked in still life. But after that, I started going more in the abstract direction, and not always wanting to attach an image to an emotion, that I could paint what I felt inside, and that it didn't have to have too much hoopla, and that I could kind of get down, which is very much in the spirit of abstract expressionism, is to get down to the base of everything. Like, what is the things that connect everybody? What makes people, and how they believe what they believe, and how they come to conclusions, and how their psyches are formed. And to me, that process is like the process of painting. So when I start a canvas like this, I just get everything out there, which is kind of like meditation. You're sitting down and all this stuff is floating around, and it takes some time for your mind to kind of settle. And that's where that part of completion in my artwork is. I know that it's completed when it's like that point in meditation where you can just see your thoughts going above like clouds, and not engage with it, and not like get into that story. And to me, that's what like painting is about, that I can go on and put layers on layers and texture, and how one layer reveals another one, and then you come up on this image, and I feel like it's a breath of fresh air. And the colors that come, I like them to be simple, but also express a lot of emotion. I can recall a trip 3 years ago, maybe, I think 3 years ago. I went to San Antonio, and I saw this painting that was really red, just excitingly red. And I thought, this is like, it had all the angst and emotion that I have kind of like had going on in here. And so I went that kind of monochromatic, simplistic route, because I felt like just the pure color was so expressive that I didn't need anything else in the picture. So that's why I kind of make simple images that can give people a moment to rest, and to not, because the world is so busy, and it's just so, there's everything calling your attention. There's ideas, people's goals, work, what do I want to do, what I don't want to do, who do I want to be with, who I don't want to be with, all these kind of questions. And I feel like just looking at a piece of art, or making a piece of art for myself, that I can just give myself a freaking rest.
And now that I think about it, your work does have a calming effect. I wasn't privy to the mindfulness component of it. I'm glad that you shared that, and that is important, especially in today's day and age. And you're right, there are so many artists that, if that's their style, they want their work to be busy and have a lot of pop and images and color and sparkles and all those other things. But it is, especially in the home, or your home, somebody's future home, your collector's home, it's important to be able to reflect and be drawn into a piece that makes you feel a type of way, and I definitely feel more comfortable and relaxed as a result.
Thank you. That's the intention.
Who are some of your, aside from the work you saw in San Antonio, who would be some of your influences? Who sparked that inside of you?
I really gravitate towards 20th century abstract expressionism, Mark Rothko, and going back, or Kandinsky, and just the spiritual in art, and theosophy in art, and just spiritual symbols and auras, and artists who were after getting to something true in art and in painting, and what it could do aside from, you know, painting what you see, but really kind of getting down to what it needs to be human. And Richard Diebenkorn is also an artist that I really admire because of his willingness to bounce back and forth between realism and abstract pictures, which was always, I always resonated with that, because I always balanced between, you know, making still lives and drawing what I see, and it referring to Paul Cézanne, and experiencing or drawing things or painting things as you experience them, and but also going to abstract expressionism, or abstract pictures that were, you know, that were about color and emotion and line and all these just visual elements of art that I really like too. So that and Henri Matisse as well. And I like the flatness of pictures versus, you know, tricking the eye and different patterns and colors next to each other. So I feel like I'm like a painter's painter. Like, I like referring to art history, and I like referring to different questions that painters had about painting, but also, you know, with the humanities, I feel a lot of, you know, connection to that too.
And education is a part of your work.
Yes, totally. So art is really the avenue, I think, where I can help children learn how to be more of themselves, pretty much. And, you know, as a child, if I actually posted this drawing, it's somewhere in my studio over there, where these children, and they're based off my children at work.
As a teacher? Yeah,
as a teacher. I'm an art curriculum coordinator, I didn't mention that, at BB International School of the Arts in Pompano. And we're a really progressive school, unconventional. It's Reggio Montessori based, but we also do a lot of STEAM work. You can't pin us down at all. We're kind of getting the ball moving in education. I feel very, very proud to be a part of that, especially with the school systems. And if you ever grew up in one, or you have a kid in one, and it just doesn't sound very fun, and really enhancing children's creativity.
Right.
And not just copying a painting, and the art education is not quality. And what we do is really honing in on children's creativity and really bringing that out of them. So I think that art is the avenue through which I can teach, you know, independent life skills, how to think for themselves, critical thinking skills, compassion and empathy. And art is kind of an excuse for me to brainwash them in the most positive way, because we do teach mindfulness meditation as well every morning for every class transition. So what I do, you know, outside of work and painting here very much models my work life, and there's no separation.
I want to be one of these kids.
Yeah, you'd love it. You'd love it. We're really, really, really a creative school. It's like the backbone of our school. So the Atelierista, or the artist at the school, has a very pivotal role, and it's like it's the hub, you know, of the whole school. So I'm not like, you know, oh, the kids go to art class, we're like doing, it's legit. It's like a real special art program. It's really, really great.
If I ever have a kid, that kid's going there. That kid's going to the real
definitely.
Art school. Where has art taken you?
Oh man, it's led me here, to South Florida, and I knew that I didn't want to leave Florida. I wanted it to be my home, and I want to be around my family. I have a close-knit family, and we all grew up living within the same 10-mile radius of each other. So I knew that I didn't want to be too far, and that I always want to be close to home. And I didn't want to go to the West Coast either. And it happened that we landed here, and my job, or my work that I do at BB International, led me to just solidify Plantation, or Broward County, as my home. And I love it. I love this area. I love being close to the beach and to the water, and I feel like it's fresh air. And I don't think I would really want to live anywhere else. So geographically, it's brought me here. In another realm, I've been able to really connect with, and my school has a lot to do with that, but I feel it's a lot of validation for the kind of work that I want to do, and to really do. And it's taking me to Italy too.
Yes.
Because with my job, I travel to Italy. We have a federation of schools that we're a part of, and we have a teacher exchange program, and I went over there to study for a little bit and to travel as well, and it's taking me abroad as well, and going to Italy and seeing everything is art. Everything is art. And I came back, and that was earlier this year. It was June, I think. Yeah, you were just leaving, right? And I came back with so much validation, and just with such a fire that I knew that I was on the right path, and that I knew that that I was on the right path. I knew I was doing the right thing, that I made, wise choices for myself, and that I was excited that I, built this home, and I have my home studio, and I have work that is important, and I also, am showing it and sharing it, and, getting out there more, which is
Amen.
Part of my, bigger goals for 2020.
Amen.
So,
well, very well put.
Yeah.
I think it had that similar effect on me, and going to the Venice Biennale and seeing, this longest running art fair, and seeing the town getting engulfed and immersed with art in a place where art is already so present was really powerful and impactful. For me, on the producing side of production side of art, I think it also kind of validated, like, man, if they could do this here, we certainly could do this in Fort Lauderdale, and that's what we're working to do. So if you haven't been to the Art Fair on the Water, we encourage you to join us January 23rd through the 26th. You'll arrive at the Pier 66 Marina, right off of 17th Street, flat rate parking for the day. You'll make your way onto one of the boats, and the boat takes you on a custom chartered route from home to home. Instead of just going up and down the intercoastal and hearing about the houses, you actually get to go in to some of these luxury waterfront homes that are for sale. And we activate the homes with art in a 4-day art fair format. A lot of the artists are there and present, so you get to meet them, discuss with them, hear about their work, hear about their craft, which is a lot different versus some of like the traditional Miami Art Week fairs, where maybe like the gallerist is there, but you really don't have the opportunity to meet and discuss with the artists who you're hopefully going to soon become a collector of. So we encourage you to join us. Tickets and more information can be found at www.artftlauderdale.com. That's artfortlauderdale.com. You can find us on social medias as well. Where can they find you on social medias?
Instagram is my biggest presence, and at Jordan Guzman Art, or jordanguzmanart.com.
Awesome. And we have a fun-filled week with Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week. Over 50 events confirmed, from satellite art fairs and satellite events, with the local Architects Institute of America's chapter having an architecture fair in Fort Lauderdale for the second consecutive year. There's open studio tours and open studio nights with our Zero Empty Spaces location on Las Olas, and the Resident Artists in Fat Village in Mass District. There's after parties, artist talks, tons of good stuff, a lot of free events. So you can find out more at www.ftlauderdale.com. FortLauderdaleADW.com. That's Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week. You can find it on Facebook as well. The event calendar is pretty extensive there, and it's easy to share with your friends. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm Evan Snow at EvanSnow13, at Art Fort Lauderdale, at Choose954 on Instagram. We're an open book, and we look forward to having you join us January 23rd through the 26th in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and get a chance to meet Jordan and become one of her latest collectors. How about that? You guys have a good one.